the Indus Plains where the first light...
Look at the sheer density of this landmass, with nearly 18% of the entire human population living on just 2.4% of the Earth's surface, making it the 7th largest country globally. If we zoom out to its absolute coordinates, we see the entire territory sits squarely within the northern and eastern hemispheres. Geographically, it functions as a massive southward projection of the Asian continent, plunging directly into the immense Indian Ocean. Because of these deep geographical cuts, this landmass operates as a highly distinct geopolitical subcontinent. It is enclosed by formidable natural barriers and strict political borders, built on sharply contrasting geology. To understand how this region sustains itself, we have to break it down. We will map its exact cartographic grid, trace its outer frontiers, and deconstruct its 4 primary physiographic zones. Pinning down these precise spatial coordinates and physical divisions provides the framework for understanding the region's climate cycles, its immense agricultural output, and its deep geopolitical autonomy. This map shows the exact latitudinal bounds of the mainland. The southern tip anchors at 8 degrees 4 minutes north, while the northernmost edge reaches 37 degrees 6 minutes north. If we include the archipelagos, the absolute southern pole drops to Indira Point at 6 degrees 45 minutes north, stretching all the way up to Indira Col in the frozen reaches of Ladakh. On the horizontal axis, the territory spans a vast width, starting at 68 degrees 7 minutes east and extending to 97 degrees 25 minutes east. Notice how the Tropic of Cancer, running at exactly 23 degrees 30 minutes north, bisects the landmass. This specific latitude line effectively splits the nation into 2 distinct climatic zones. To synchronize this massive longitudinal spread, the standard meridian at 82 degrees 30 minutes east, passing straight through Prayagraj, dictates a single standard time for the entire country. Stepping back from the internal grid, the outer perimeter forms a massive terrestrial wall. The total land boundary measures precisely 15,200 kilometers. That perimeter is defined by strict political demarcations, including the Radcliffe Line separating it from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and the McMillan Line drawing the border with China. In the far northwest, the historical Durand Line marks the rugged, mountainous frontier with Afghanistan. These coordinate lines and meticulously measured borders create a high-security perimeter, isolating the subcontinent's internal affairs from the broader Asian mainland. The northern perimeter is locked by the Himalayas. Stretching 2,500 kilometers from the Pamir Knot in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in east, this is the highest continuous mountain chain on Earth. This cross-section shows that the Himalayas are not a single solid wall. They are a composite of 3 distinct parallel ranges that step down in elevation from north to south. The innermost and highest tier is the Himadri, or Greater Himalayas. Averaging between 6,000 and 8,000 meters, it holds peaks like Mount Everest and acts as the frozen origin point for massive glaciers like Gangotri. Just north of the Greater Himalayas lies the Trans-Himalayan Karakoram Range, home to K2, the tallest peak within Indian territory at 8,611 meters. Moving south, the elevation drops into the Himachal, or Middle Himalayas. Sitting between 3,600 and 4,500 meters, this tier is defined by rugged parallel systems like the Pir Panjal Range. This middle range is famous for sheltering vast, deep basins, creating highly fertile and populated enclaves like the Kashmir and Kangra valleys. The final, outermost tier is the Siwaliks. These are the lowest foothills, shaped by much more recent geological uplifts and heavy erosion. The Siwaliks contain unique geological formations called dunes, flat-bottomed longitudinal valleys that sit between the foothills, with Dehradun being the most prominent example. Together, this 3-tiered wall performs 2 critical functions. It blocks freezing winds from Central Asia, and it acts as an immense water tower, hoarding the ice that will eventually feed the entire subcontinent. As we drop out of those southern foothills, the landscape flattens dramatically into the vast expanse of the Sutlej-Ganga plains. This topographic model shows exactly how these plains were built. Over millennia, rivers cutting through the Himalayas carried massive volumes of silt down the slopes, fanning out and slowly filling a massive depression to create this flat tract. To understand the carrying capacity of this plain, we have to look at its soil stratification. It breaks down into 3 specific geological zones. Right at the immediate base of the mountains lies the Babur. This is a highly porous band of coarse gravel and rocks dropped by fast-moving streams. Further south, the terrain shifts into the Bangar. These are older, slightly elevated terraces of alluvial soil left behind by ancient flood cycles. Finally, we reach the Kedar. Found directly inside active river channels, this is the newest, most highly fertile alluvium, constantly renewed by shifting waters. This sequence of soil deposition, from the rocky drainage of the Babur down to the nutrient-dense Kedar, creates an agricultural engine massive enough to feed over 1 billion people. South of the plains, the continent shifts abruptly into a massive V-shaped landmass known as the Peninsular Plateau. Unlike the active, relatively young Himalayas, this plateau is incredibly ancient. It is a highly stable, hardened fragment broken off from the original Gondwanaland supercontinent. Looking at this topographical map, you can see how the Narmada River cuts a distinct horizontal boundary across the landmass. This river valley splits the formation into the Central Highlands in the north and the expansive Deccan Plateau in the south. The outer edges of this southern plateau are defined by sharp drops. On the west flank, the Western Ghats form a continuous, steep, and highly elevated wall. This unbroken ridgeline peaks at Anamudi, which rises to 2,695 meters, making it the highest point in southern India. In sharp contrast, the Eastern Ghats on the opposite flank are significantly lower in elevation. They form a broken, discontinuous boundary, deeply dissected by heavy, east-flowing rivers. Because of its immense geological age, long-term stability, and ancient volcanic history, this elevated plateau holds an incredible density of mineral deposits, anchoring the subcontinent's entire industrial economy. Where the plateaus drop off, the coastal plains begin. The western coastal plain is a narrow strip pinned between the mountains and the sea, divided into the Konkan coast in the north and the Malabar coast down south. The eastern coastal plains, comprising the Utkal and Coromandel coasts, are distinctly broader. Fed by the rivers cutting through the eastern Ghats, this coast forms massive deltas and deep saltwater lagoons like Chilika and Pulicat. Beyond the mainland, the territory controls 2 major archipelagos. In the Arabian Sea, the Lakshadweep Islands form a distinct chain of circular, coral-based atolls. Over in the Bay of Bengal, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands present a different geology entirely. Driven up by tectonic and volcanic forces, this chain extends far to the south, terminating at the strategic outpost of Indira Point. Combined, these 6,100 kilometers of mainland coastline and remote island chains extend the nation's reach across the Indian Ocean, providing strategic access to the world's most critical sea lanes. When viewed at scale, the mountains, plains, plateau, and coasts function as a single interdependent unit. This map shows how that system actually runs. The massive wall of the Himalayas blocks incoming freezing winds from the north, while the steep ridge of the Western Ghats catches and channels the heavy monsoon clouds sweeping in from the ocean. The rivers then act as an active circulatory system. They pull glacial melt and loose sediment from the high peaks, pump it straight through the vast central plains to fertilize the soil, and finally flush out into the surrounding seas. This distinct physiography is an integrated landmass, where mountains and coastlines dictate the climate, fuel the economy, and define the region's geopolitical sovereignty.
From the Indus plains where the first light fell, they named her Sindhu, the stories tell. Persian tongue shifted the S to an H. Hindustan rose from the history's ash. Greeks heard the sound called the Landia, a name for the world, a modern Panasha. But deep in the heart she is pirate, the light of the man. 7 frontiers holding the line, 7,000 kilometers of coastline divine, with 28 pulses beating as one. 2.4% of the globe in the sun. The northern wall stands a jagged blue sky. The Himalayas watch as the ages go by, folding youth guarding the north from the cold. A bastion of ice and the stories of old. How could the rivers bring life to the floor? The great northern plain feeds the millions and more. Beneath the Vindhyas the Plateaus expand, Gondwana's legacy the heart of the land. Harder and older, volcanic and deep, while the western Ghats rise from the sea in a leap. Eastern hills gentler wait for the rain, a geological puzzle of vast rolling terrain. From the tropical coasters to the Thar's golden dust, of a billionaire's geometry we place our trust. Bound by the mountains, embraced by the sea, a profile in glory, eager of the free. 4 physical realms, a strategic design, shaping the monsoon, the crime. India, Hindustan. One earth, one spirit, one grand design. From the peaks to the plains, may the light always shine. Pioneer Public School, knowledge is the eternal lamp. Bharat, Bharat.